Breakfast time. I'm going to put a little bit of HP sauce on there. On the eggs. Oops. It's a new container. I've got to open it. Grey ink. Oh, yes, look at that. A little bit of salt. Not much. A little bit. I have my orange juice. So, welcome to breakfast, everybody. Pull up a chair. I'm sure you're having the same. We've got eggs, bacon, mushroom, tomato hidden down there, and toast. So let's begin. Whilst breakfast is over there, she's just doing something. She'll be back in a sec. I'll show you hers. Might try a little of this original barbecue sauce too. Just a little bit. Now, mushroom, bit egg. Those are good. That barbecue sauce is different, isn't it?
Yeah.
From your normal barbecue.
I'll just say half long on with that. I didn't say that. I'm not going to hear me eat. Yeah, this one's so much more expensive.
Yeah. That's only $2.
What's it normally?
About $3.50 or something like that. Tomato. Perhaps the world are going to bed. We're having breakfast.
That's true.
I went to turn the radio on, but I noticed you've only got one plug there. You need a double adapter or something.
Yeah.
Bacon. Don't often have a cooked breakfast, but we do enjoy it. Particularly on a winter's day. Officially winter tomorrow, yeah? 1st of June. Oh, it's just been pretty cold. done pretty well.
You're gonna dry it.
Yep. Yum. Got an email this morning from Coles Supermarket saying all restrictions on the food have been lifted. Which means people have got so much food at home, and they're not selling much.
Probably. I would have noticed the stock, I suppose.
A bit of Worcestershire on that tomato while I was cooking it. Yum. Taste it.
A little bit. I'm just probably getting the biscuits.
I can only see one biscuit up there.
I think he's,
They're sneaky little buggers.
I think he's been having a field day already.
Mm. Morning, box. Yeah, I imagine it would be. I think what time it'd be there. It'd be about 9:30, 10 o'clock. She has some good days coming up there with the sunshine. Garden beds look really good. A lot of work digging them weeds out. Saw your chicken feeder. Pretty cool. Yeah, sometimes that's a bit tough on the garden, isn't it? 32 one day, 13 the next. That's probably the biggest danger in the garden is the rapid change in temperature. 13 is not too low. Yeah, you'd still be worried about that chance of a late frost, I guess. It's getting cold here. Getting down to like 7 in the morning. 2C is pretty close to frost, isn't it? Think about frost. You've got a bit of land. You could have frost in one part of your property and not in the other. You know, little valleys and hills that hide the shade. But your raised garden beds, they're going to be good this year. During this pandemic, there's been a big uptake in people growing their own produce, which is good. I think a lot of it was through fear, but at least even the bad gardener eats well. So as long as they're doing a bit now, maybe they'll keep doing it. Yeah, 1 degree Celsius, it's too risky putting any seedlings out in that. Yeah, bloody crows up there, look at him.
I can't see him, but I thought so.
There's nothing wrong with not having any fear. Because you're the supreme optimist, Fox. With fear comes one other thing, doubt. And like you, I'm happy to make a mistake, as long as I learn by it. I wouldn't say it's a worry, it's a confidence thing. Like I say, if I break something or misdrilled something or cut in too deep, I can fix it, you know what I mean? So, oops, everyone makes them. And each time you make a mistake, you should be a little bank in your brain that says, don't do that again. Gonna wrench my plate and I'll be back. I'll just take the box outside for a smoke.
Okay.
We're done with breakfast. We have to have a cigarette on the veranda. I'll just quickly show you. I'll pull it out probably tomorrow. See, on the very end of that box is basil. And I've just been amazed that it's survived. 2 days ago I started pinching the heads off, which is the time to pull the whole plant out and dry it. But it means weather has definitely changed. I couldn't grow basil. Middle of April it would be no good, but this went all the way through till now. And I could keep it going, but you know what'll happen, it'll just start sending shoots out. Plant gets bitter. So while it's at its peak, pull the whole plant out, rinse the roots, hang it upside down in a cool, dark place. Oops, I've got to go and feed the bird. Morning. There you go. I'm going to break a couple up for you because you're all right. Just breaking a couple up because I know it's all right. Come on in. That's a butcher bird. I used to do a fair bit of sailing when I was younger, and I wouldn't say it was fear or apprehension, it was just a healthy respect. Where I used to live, a town called Geraldton, big coastal village in the early days, now a city. But lots of people lost their lives because they were just a bit too bravado. I'd always double check, like if I went out in a boat, make sure they had oars, even if I had a motor. I could swim like a fish, so problem is where I used to live, sharks like swimming like fish too. But yeah, no, I don't think it's fear. It's just a healthy respect. A lot of people just drown at the beach. Yeah, wisdom never been fear. I think, like I say, if you listen and look around, see what happens, you realise where I used to live, pretty much shark-infested areas, we'd lose 1 or 2 people a year. Well, you have a healthy respect. Sharks are like most other fish, and shark is a fish. It has its times during the day where it's more active. Not so much in the middle of the day, though they can be, but it's normally morning feed and afternoon feed, like most fish. Hey, JP, just missed breakfast. So I like learning, I think. It's so, look, I mean, during these times, there's been lots of fear. We've just been cautious. Like in my state now, it's virtually back to normal. Everyone's back at work. Schools are all full. Bars, restaurants, hotels, they're all open. So we're sort of, even though there's still lots of dots on the ground and social distancing taking place, that's okay. The remarkable thing here is in our period of getting the seasonal flu, which starts in April, goes to May and June, basically. So 3 months. In April, most years, Box, we'd have 1,200 to 1,400 cases of flu. In April this year, we had 20. And that's because of the social distance. G'day, old gringo. Yeah, we just had breakfast. You just missed out. Bacon, eggs, tomato. What else do I have? Mushies, toast. So I think, I don't know, a lot of countries have not taken this seriously. So it's a bit like the theory of the shark. You know, they have feeding times. If you happen to be in the water at feeding time, you're going to increase your risk. I've seen videos from all around the world where people, like in Brazil, their leader basically says, don't worry about it. It's okay, it's only a little flu. And now they're burying thousands of Brazilians. I expect to wake up one day and see the Brazilian leader strung up by a tree. That's what I think. I understand the frustration of Americans not getting any money, not getting any work, being angry. It hasn't happened in Australia, and I think Canada's done the same thing. You know, if you've lost your job here, you get $1,500 every 2 weeks. It's about $3,500 a month. Now that may be a lot less than what they earned, but at least it gets them through. Got friends in the US that are still waiting for their first stimulus check of $1,200. And it's been months. How are they supposed to pay their rent, mortgage, eat, you know, fix a flat tyre, buy some medicine? So America's done that badly, without question. Yeah, see, that's the problem. So the ratio of spread. Here, what they did early on, Box, if you had an appointment with a doctor, you'd phone up, you had to phone up first. You then had to wait in the car park, and you would be phoned. And if it wasn't a serious issue, like you maybe just have a cough and a cold, and you've got a temperature, no. All right, we'll just take some cough medicine, a couple of Panadol, and go home. Otherwise, they wouldn't go even into the surgery. So, and then if people were ill, they would be brought into the surgery one at a time. And they hired just one person to go around, keep spraying disinfectant. So after the first person's been in, clean it all out again. So just practicable things that were done. Lots of Aussies did the right thing by, like, restaurants and takeaway places. They ordered a lot more than they'd ever done before. They're staying home isolating, but they were supporting the local business. So they know that when, this thing's kicked back to normal now, that the shop will still be there. Not every shop is going to reopen. No, you don't, Gringo. It's very sad. You have a chaos theory. See, we don't look at it as sides in Australia. Yep, same here. There's people on the doors, box that wave you in. As soon as they see two people go out, two people can go in. In a really big supermarket, you might only have 50 people in there because they control it. For a country called the United States, there's nothing much united about it. They all hate each other. Some pretend to be red and blue, or blue and red, or just blue, and they'll argue politically about issues instead of working together to say, all right, what can we do to fix this bloody thing? No. The leadership's been terribly lacking. And in hindsight, as the years go by, there's going to be some big fingers pointed at people, suggesting that a lot less people could have died if you'd had actually been a leader. That's my opinion. Yeah, it's so sad. I mean, I grew up admiring the United States, thinking, wow, a powerful nation, everyone's doing well. Yeah, you stole my thunder there, Box. And yet, in reality, its people are treated like third world. Lining up in a car to get a box of food? I just don't get it. Does a country have to go into debt at this time to help its people? Yes. All right? Business is not as important as people. If whole institutions have to reset their thinking about how they now work, so be it. It was probably, on one hand, a good thing because you've got a lot of people that shouldn't have been in business that will no longer be in business. And you'll have people that are very smart and they'll adapt and change and be resilient. That makes your country stronger. Oh, it's just absurd, some of the things we've been reading. Morning, Mel. You missed
Morning.
breakfast?
Morning, everyone. I ain't on. I'm still waking up.
I think, like I say, we just took it really seriously in the initial stages here. We stopped working without being told. Our kids were kept from school without being asked to. You're working this weekend, all right. And people in Australia did take it seriously. I mean it, they really did. And we have lost 103 people, which is still not good. But when we turn our eyes north into different countries, the figures are staggering. And we will have isolated outbreaks. That's just how it is. Asymptomatic people don't even know they've got it. They can't be blamed.
That's right. The thing is, you can't stop living either.
No, I agree. But I said years ago, I remember Box would remember me saying this, do not ever rely on a government to look after you. That is the worst thing, to have the mentality like the lights go off. I'll just stay home and someone will come around and fix it. Or I'm not, I've got no money, so maybe the government can give it to me. That's a mentality is just stupid. To think that someone else will fix your problems means you're very vulnerable. Yeah, you got to be your own resource. Having knowledge and skill, you can't pay a price for it. There's no money. Like with Box, I couldn't. If I said, "Give me all your knowledge and I'll pay you," he'd say, "Seeds, you don't have enough money," and it'd be a true answer. There's lots of knowledge, and knowledge is very powerful. It's one of those things that will not only get you through any sort of time, but like I say, if you don't spend money because you do something yourself, just have a think about that for a second. Like people get their lawns mowed, $50 every 2 weeks, $100 a month, $1,200 a year. Do it yourself. Look on the table, there's $1,200. Anyway, we did well in Australia. We're not over it. This thing's not going anywhere. And if you're careless, it will fire up. That's what will happen. South Korea at the moment is going through a huge second wave. I still can't get over the numbers. 100,000 people dead in the US. It just blows your mind. I've seen 100,000 people at the Melbourne Cricket Ground in the grand final. About 98,000 it was, so 100,000 roughly. That is a hell of a lot of people. That is an enormous amount of people who are no longer with us. Geez, it's turning ugly in the US too. I'm pretty much sure they were going to start rioting, but this is for a different reason, of course. But they're still angry over the whole situation. I think this will be the ugliest election ever in the United States. No doubt, people will surmise how has the leaders of the country, and not just federally but state, how have they responded to this issue? Some have done it very well. Some have done nothing. And they'll be held accountable. Hello, Winky. No, I think it's like, I read this morning, apparently because Trump said something on a tweet and it was deleted under a regulation of Twitter, he now wants to punish Twitter. It's like a kid in a sandbox, someone taking their toy away. It does reflect on history, of course. Remember Nero played the fiddle while Rome burned? Lots of analogies added to that, trust me. And I'm not anti-Republican, I'm not anti-democratic, I'm pro-people. I want people to be treated well. You work hard, you pay your taxes, forget about the colour of your political mind. The only way you make a country strong is through being united, not divided. And like I said earlier, the United States of America? No, nothing united about America. And the Chinese waving their big stick around the world, basically saying you do as we say or you lose trade, we'll stop buying your stuff. Well, I'm all for saying to China, hello China, how you going? Shove it up your clacker. You didn't hear me the first time? I said, shove it up your clacker. Yes, lots of countries will have to reset, start manufacturing, working with other countries. All right, so there's a lull in the world for economy for the next 3 to 5 years. Guess who's going to miss out? Guess who will lose in the long run? We'll have China knocking the door saying, can we still buy your steel, your gold, your copper, your iron, your lithium, and, lots of your meat products and seafood? No, you're an arsehole to us. So what we've decided to do is leave the ore in the ground, the fish in the ocean, and we'll just wait. All right? Yeah, you can piss off. So that's where this goes. Countries will have to reset, start manufacturing, start making their own pharmaceuticals. Necessity is the mother of invention. We can make it happen. It was the biggest thing box was the fact that labour was cheaper in China. And if people delve into it now, guess what China do with their big factories? They don't employ Chinese to manufacture. They employ poorer country people. They import them. Yep. And then they make them work for even cheaper rates, so they get more profit. All about the dollar. Well, China's pushing to the South China Sea. It's big stick. It's small countries. Yeah. Australians will bite it. If we have to, we'll say, okay, we're going to be economically sort of crushed for a couple of years. We'll find new markets. Like I say, we'll just leave the ore underground, the fish in the sea, the wine in the fields. We can adapt. One thing I'm sure most countries don't like, but we certainly don't like being threatened. And if we have to take a loss for our pride, we will. Yes, eating again, Phuket. Bit of HP sauce and some eggs, bacon, grilled tomato, mushrooms, toast. Yeah, it was all right. We should have a national policy in most countries where people are taught to help themselves. It's like it doesn't, people just live it electronically today. Oh, I'm hungry, order a pizza. Car needs fixing, call a mechanic. It's just ridiculous. No one is willing to do anything. They say, oh no, I work all week. I shouldn't be able to change the oil in my car or rotate the tyres on my vehicle. No, I shouldn't do that. Why not? We're all going to have to adapt. It was, yes, we finished it, Phuket. You're going to have to go back through the video. It was all right. Don't often have a cooked breakfast, but we do enjoy it. There's 24 hours in a day, box. That's a lot of time. The biggest thing I've heard over the last 20 years, look at that little finch on the tree there, see?
Yeah, I saw one the other day, so I said to
Tiny
you,
little finch.
different.
I don't know if we can get him
You
on
know you
through.
can't,
Too
it's
far
too
away, I
boring.
think. Too far. But people are just lazy. You could be more diplomatic in saying other words. No, they're just lazy. And cheap labour means not only has products been produced offshore now from your countries, you don't have jobs where you used to. You pay for a product that doesn't last more than 12 months. Well, actually it does normally, it lasts about 13 months because there's only a 12-month warranty. They build redundancy into products. They do, not lying. They're meant to fail, so you've got to buy more. And then China sticks its head up saying, well, since we buy a lot of your products, you'll do as we tell you. No, Australians say shove it up your ass. And even our politicians say the same thing. We're willing to take a hit because we'll look elsewhere. As we speak, we've got envoys going all around the world to different sources. Do we want to buy Chinese products anymore? Well, actually, you're sort of putting us off, so we probably won't. Probably will for a while because there's loads of them in Australia, but we'll look to, you know, India, Taiwan. Britain is going to start a big trade with Australia. Yeah, so we'll be okay. And I'll just reiterate to the Chinese leader, if you're listening, and I'm sure he is, shove it up your ass. Old man Krug. No, they don't own Australia. We're big trading partners with them. But they will suffer. We will suffer, but not in the long run. See, we've got all these goodies, all these natural resources. Gas, oil, coal, nickel, iron ore, lots of sheep, lots of cows. In fact, lots of kangaroos and camels. Loads of seafood that they buy. And just 2 weeks ago, the Chinese decided, because Australia put forward a proposal to investigate how and where and why COVID-19 took place, China said, right, we're going to wait 80% tariff on your barley. We're going to stop buying your meat. All right, Box, you have a good one, mate. So, that's the game they're playing. All right, we won't sell to China. China sends around 300,000 students to Australia for education, which makes you think, why would they come here? Because it's pretty good. They get good education, high qualifications. They can't get that back home in China. So maybe we'll just say, nah, keep your students at home. Will the universities and colleges suffer here? Yeah, but they'll adapt. You know what I mean? One day you're a coal miner, coal mine closed. The next day, well, you're a farmer. Farm closed, oh, well, the next day you're fishing in the ocean. You'll find something to do. That's what Australians are like. So there will be a lot of political pressure hammered on China now, followed by trade war like you've never seen before. And the rest of the world would say, all right, this is how we're going to deal with this. We'll buy a lot more meat from Australia in, say, wherever, and we'll sell a lot of the stuff to Australia. Yep, that's true. I read that. Yep, they've already started. It's going to happen in the US as well. Look, I don't see Chinese students going to the US or Australia in the future at all. Well, that's changing here too. We changed it 3 or 4 years ago where unless you lived in Australia, you can't just buy houses. Do you know what I mean? So if you're a Chinese investor, come to Australia now and want to buy houses just for a portfolio, nah, can't do that anymore. You want all the Chinese students to come to Manchester? Is that what you want? All right, we'll send them there. Yeah, it's going to get nasty because the Chinese have played their hand. By that I mean they're acting a tough guy. They're telling countries like Australia and everywhere else, Britain's the same. Britain are cancelling UE5, whatever it is, 5G. Chinese aren't happy. Now they're going to threaten Britain. Well, you can't keep going around threatening people. Might work if you're a Chinese official in China and go to a local village and threaten them. They'll listen because they know they get shot otherwise. Chinese threatening Americans, English, Canadians, Australians, nah, that's not going to work. If the Chinese want to have a quick look at the television and see how people react in democratic countries about black people being killed, they're on the streets protesting, burning places. And there isn't an army coming in to shoot them. I wonder how that would go in China. The same Beijing, 500 people started to burn places and go rioting. Well, we know what happens, don't we, in China? Some of us have got memories going back to Tiananmen Square. We know how the Chinese authorities react. Where would you like to live? In an authoritarian country where you do as you're told or else? Or in an imperfect democracy or republic where things aren't always perfect? Sounds a lot like an easy answer, doesn't it? Yep, they will shrink, Phuket, but they can diversify. You talk about a country like the UK, you talk about adversary times and whatever. Yeah, there have been plenty of them. You wouldn't get a bigger happening than World War II in the UK, where people just learned to do stuff for themselves mainly, helped each other, rallied together, stood tall. Yeah, the neighbour's car needs an exhaust. What do you think? It's either that or it's a Spitfire taken off. Yeah, I know, Phuket. Universities here and colleges are screaming out to the government saying, no, you've got to let the Chinese students in. Roger, chocks away. Runway 4. Tally-ho. That really does sound like a Spitfire. And you'd think he'd fix his damn car. It's been like that for months. If anything, what this virus has taught people, hopefully is a lesson that will help them. Yep, pretty much sums it up, Rejects. If you type in safest countries to visit, you'll be surprised. Jeez, that car's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to see something in the newspapers in the next few days, Phuket. They probably aren't coming because China has overthrown the two-system policy and Hong Kong now is just full red. And you're going to see trade embargoes to Hong Kong because that's their outlet to the world. If you ever bought anything from overseas from China, you'll see that it's redirected to Hong Kong first, then shipped to Britain, Australia, UK, US. That's how it works. Well, because China has decided to end the two-system policy, in other words, it will just be Chinese rule, I'm pretty sure Trump will say, well, shove it up your arse, you're not going to get any concessions now. It's no longer a portal to the West, it's just part of mainland China. And Hong Kong is an economic hub, or used to be. You watch things change. Hong Kong students will no longer be thought of as Hong Kong students by the ministry in Britain. They will be seen as Chinese subjects. And it's going to get ugly, that's what I'm saying. It's going to get real ugly, and countries like ours will suffer initially, but we'll bounce. Same with everyone else, they'll bounce. And in the end, an isolated China won't look so tough. Oh, definitely Holden. I've had both vehicles. I've had Morris. Mind you, the Morris was far better steel. I had an Austin Kimberley, Morris Minor. I don't know. It's just going to get ugly, the world. Because China thinks this is an opportune time to wave a big stick. Big mistake. And by the way, there will be never an investigation into how, when and why the virus started, because China will not allow it. And because Austin Kimberley, a pretty decent vehicle, the old Austin Kimberleys. Fairly wide body. $350,000 people, the mark's been reached, have passed away because of this virus. Now, anyone in their right mind would say, well, maybe we should, not let this happen again. How can we do that? Well, we probably need to investigate how this started. But China's saying, no, when we're ready, maybe, yeah, no. Brickland or Brick, I don't know either of those. Old Ringer. Is this a quiz? What about bacon or ham? Definitely bacon. Oh, some weird cars out in the bush here. What we've done in the past in Australia, if a car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, you just empty out the glove box and leave it there. That's what used to happen. Oh, you should hear some of the birds. Them just crows talking. Ah! They don't like when someone tries to imitate. They go, what was that? What the hell was that? To give you an idea, when it first broke out, Rujix, it was not very long after we closed international flights altogether from anywhere. And China ripped into Australia saying, stupid Chinese officials, Australian officials, closing the international flights from China to Australia. Really? Oh, well, have a look at our figures compared to other people around the world. Really? We closed the borders and what happened? Less people died. 350,000 people have died because of this. And the world not only deserves an answer, we demand it. And no one waving a big stick is going to change our minds. They're literally doing that, Phuket. You know what happens to the tough kid in the yard after he beats 3 or 4 kids up? What happens? Wow. All the boys get together and beat the shit out of him. The time will tell. But trust me, the political pressure on China in the next few months is going to be enormous. Is Hub not good? Okay. I like my old Austin Kimberley. I got up early this morning and I kid you not, they were silent like in the movie Birds. There were about 20 crows along the fence just looking at me. So I clapped my hand and they all flew away. Oh, you're dead right, Rujek. This has cost people's livelihoods. People have sadly taken their own lives due to the stress. This has a cause and effect. And whether it's a natural event or not, it doesn't matter. The world has the right to know where, why, and when, so we don't let it happen again. Not just be told to mind our own business. And that's what we're being told. And it's not sitting well with anyone, except the Chinese. Without much thought, when I have been shopping lately, I've been turning and looking to the labels or markings. And as soon as I see made in China, I put it down. I bet a lot of people are doing that. Right, we might, what's that, people getting sick from the virus? Yes, I agree. I've been on air flights where you walk past, go to your seat, and there's some old bloke, red in the face, coughing and spluttering. Blah, and I'm thinking, I've got 10 hours of this. Shouldn't be allowed on board. It used to be years ago, in some countries you needed a certificate of health to fly, which is not a bad idea. Because when you book a holiday, say, you may not be sick, but you might have booked 5 months in advance. And I think the week before you fly, you should have a certificate saying, no, all good, or, oh, actually, you've got the flu. Well, I'm not an American citizen, but if you like my opinion, there's no way Trump's going to win. Oh, I don't think he can win. I've looked at this administration, like I've followed American politics for a very long time. I have never seen well, not a democracy, but a republic like America have a leader that decides that he will sack anyone he chooses, he will change the rules when it suits him, he will blatantly just say stuff that is not true. That sounds more like someone from North Korea, doesn't it? Have a think, do a comparison. What does the North Korean leader do? About the same. You don't agree with him? Well, in America they don't shoot them, but they get rid of them. I mean, a lot of people know a lot of the people that have been fired, and a lot of people know what they've said. They've all basically said it's like working for the mafia. He thinks he's the Don. Well, I've always been amazed with American politics. This year you get the choice between a 77-year-old or I think a 74-year-old. Any chance of having like younger candidates for a change? Just a thought. If Biden gets in, if he gets 2 terms, he'll be 85. He'll be like Yoda. Oh, where am I? And I think Joe Biden, other than a few controversies that are following him, is being very clever by saying nothing. Are you smelling bad hair or good hair? Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. Do I think Mr. Trump will be re-elected? No. See, I don't pick a side. That's just me. I look at the subject matter presented towards me and think, no, you guys are full of crap. I'll vote for these people this time. I've never been red or blue. I don't see, you're not born red or blue. You don't live red or blue. You don't go to a Republican cafe. You don't go to a Democratic cinema. People have forgotten the fundamentals is that we're all people. We're all the same. Different views, different opinions, that's okay. But to follow through to the extent that I'm either blue or red or nothing is crazy. Now, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying about being a progressive. See, I would have voted definitely for a couple of candidates that never got through. Ron Paul, smart man, made the ultimate mistake. He was going to disband the Federal Reserve. No chance. If he had not just said that, maybe, he would have been elected. Well, peculiar is a word. I like people with good intent, a good heart, thinking of people, not of politics. The best politician is not a politician. The best politician is someone that does stuff, doesn't say he's going to do stuff. He does it. Yep. But he's one major error, old Gringo. I'm going to bring down the Federal Reserve. Oh, well, there's a lot of powerful people behind all that. He's never going to get elected. Look, it's going to be quite strange in the future, Rujex. I'll be coming to Canada and you say, oh, how much is a beer? You say, $550. Right, I'll just get my suitcase out. Otherwise, money won't be worth much. Yeah, look, I mean, I've looked at the candidacy possibilities in the US. I've got to be honest with you, they're too old. You need someone dynamic between 40 and, say, 60, who has a track record of doing stuff. May not look good,
maybe ugly, doesn't matter. When you run a business like a country, you just want someone who can get the job done. Not someone who goes on blurts and attacks people on Twitter and then threatens to close Twitter because they didn't agree with him. This is fantasy. It's weird stuff. But when Box was here earlier, a good friend of mine for many years, he does all of everything he needs to get done for himself. Self-reliant, basically. His own power, food, etc. Now, maybe everyone can't do that, but what everyone can do is something for themselves. We've become soft and lazy. If you're not willing to do something for yourself but expect others to do it, you're on a losing streak. You're what we call a credit line. I would ban credit completely. Wouldn't be very popular, would it? No credit score required because you're not getting any credit. Period. Oh, but I want to buy a new car. Well, maybe buy a second-hand car. The one word that's used by every politician is growth. They're all seeking the magical 3 to 4% growth. Now, next time you hear a politician say, how about we target sustainability, where we have enough people for enough jobs? Yeah, you see the banks, the people that own the planet, I don't want that. No profit in that. Sustainability. Well, that's where my country is very fortunate. We have more resources than you could possibly imagine. Probably a fear there is no way of care about pay $1 million properties. Nah, I don't think you'd be charged $1 million. Price of property is falling dramatically around the world for obvious reasons. It's going to be a big crunch. The building industries around the world are in collapse. All industries are, but particularly the building industry and the politicians' word of growth. It's like, well, growth's not going to happen. We're going to go backwards. We already know here many builders and chippies and plumbers and electricians. They got no work. At the moment, people aren't really willing to step up to the market and say, I'd like to borrow money to build a house. And I don't blame them. A lot of people get confused with tax because it's the indirect tax we pay. Extra bit on the end of a bill, going shopping, having a meal, filling up your car, buying cigarettes. It's the indirect tax, which is the sneaky little bugger. If you vote for me in the next election, I will outlaw all tax, no income tax, no indirect tax. We'll need a lot less people working for the government, for starters. That's all right. Yeah, there's a difference in different currency production around the world, I agree. All have different rules. But it's the trade value of your currency, which on the Forex is just traded like a lottery every day, every minute in some cases. But if I was a betting man, the last thing I'd be investing in at the moment is the American dollar. Mm-hmm. It's one of them things that if you were making a speech, you could summarise it by saying, hunker down, guys, it's going to get rough, and be smart. You can make the speech really long if you like, but that's all that needs to be said. Steve Hale, I've seen him on telly. It's like one of the funniest things in my country. You can walk up to any politician, Prime Minister, you can say, you're a dickhead. You go, all right. You don't get arrested. You don't get thrown in Guantanamo. Most of the bodyguards laugh. But no. There's a reason why people like living in Australia. All right, we've got a few things we've got to do. Good to catch up with you guys. Sorry, most of you missed breakfast. I didn't. That's the main thing. So I want you to have a great night. Go to bed, sleep, or if you're just waking up like Phuket is. Trying to figure out what time it is there. It must be early in the morning. Go to bed, Phuket, go to bed. And I'll see all you guys at another time. Be smart, be safe, and on occasions, be kind. Good night. Now I've just got to learn how to turn this bloody thing off again. I always struggle with this. Hang on a sec, got to turn you sideways. I'm hopeless at this. Oh, now I see a cross. I'll press that, all right? See ya.